Listen, Linda, you are not honoring anyone by running yourself into the ground. You're actually honoring him. And it is an act of worship to steward what he gave you. That's you. Hey, you know what? The Proverbs 31 woman, she didn't dress in rags. She wore fine linen and purple. Purple was expensive. It was a status symbol. She wasn't dressing in rags to prove her humility. So let's talk about why that matters. So to give a quick recap, we learned that she delegated. She had servants. She created wealth. She had a business. She was an entrepreneur. And now we see that she invested in herself. So if you've ever felt guilty for spending money on yourself, getting your nails done, taking time for self-care, or just buying a new bra, why do we do that? If you've ever felt guilty for any of that, this episode's for you. Hey, I'm jumping on here real quick because I totally forgot to let you know that I have put together a Bible study workbook to go along with this series of the Proverbs 31 woman. The link is in the description box below. Go click it, go check it out. It's a free printable, totally free. All you have to do is click the link and it'll come right to your email. This is a great partner to go along with this series. You don't want to miss out. Go click the link in the description box below. And now we'll get back to the show. So real quick, the first point I want to make is that she invested in herself. She wore fine linen and purple. We see that in verse 22, that she makes coverings for herself. Fine linen and purple were her clothing. See, purple dye in ancient times, it was extremely expensive, and it was reserved for only royalty and the wealthy. She didn't dress modestly so that she would disappear. She actually dressed well. She took care of her appearance. She had her hair done. She probably had makeup. She probably went and got her nails done. I don't know if she got her nails done, but she took care of herself. She invested in herself. And it wasn't about vanity. It was about her honoring herself, her position, and her value. In verse 25, it says that she was clothed with strength and dignity, not shame and self-neglect. And I think that as women, especially as moms, we have this tendency to just look homeless most of the time. I mean, probably any given day, you will find me in a pair of skinny jeans and a hoodie. And it's not because I'm trying to disappear. It's just super comfortable. And especially right now during the winter months, hoodies, I have some really, really warm hoodies and they're just so cozy and they feel good. But I will admit there are days that I look homeless probably. Like I don't look good in them. They don't flatter me at all. They're cozy and warm, but they're not flattering. And they don't speak to my value. They speak to me just wanting to just be comfortable and not be hindered with anything. One of the things that I've struggled with a lot as, being a business owner, and Brandon and I used to host these business, I don't know what you would call them, workshops, I guess, where we would go in and we would teach people how to become entrepreneurs, and we would teach people how to have their own business, or we would coach them through what the next steps in their business should be. And being in front of professionals, you have to dress professional, right? And I would struggle with that so much because I liked the way it made me feel to dress professional mentally, but I didn't necessarily like the way it felt physically. I felt like I was always tugging at something or pulling at something, or it was just never super comfortable. And even recently, I told my husband, I was like, you know what? I really need to change my attire. If you go look at my closet, you would think that I was goth or something because everything is black. Everything is black. And I love black because it's universal, goes with everything. And it's just super easy. And, I don't ever have to think about, well, will this go with that? Or will this, no, it's black. It'll go with everything. So I told him, I was like, I need to change my wardrobe a little bit because I still dress like a kid, wearing my hoodies and my jeans and sneakers. And there's a place for that. And that's fine. I love my hoodies and jeans and sneakers, let me tell you. But there are times that I'm like, you know what? I feel like I should dress like I care about myself a little more. And because I do care about myself and I do see my value. And a lot of times I think, who cares? I know who I am. So if I walk into a room, how I'm dressed is not going to carry my authority. I carry my authority. And there's some truth to that. But at the same time, depending on the room you're in, how you're dressed also depends on how you're received. And I went to the grocery store today, and I won't say every single woman, but the majority of the women in there looked like they literally just rolled out of bed. They had their hair up in a messy bun. I saw a couple women wearing house slippers in the grocery store. And you could tell that they're like, they just got to this place where they just look like they just don't care. And they probably feel like nobody else does either. And how sad that is. And how, as women, we get to this place where nobody cares. Who cares what I look like? My kids don't care what I'm wearing. I've been married to my husband for 40 years, and he doesn't even care what I look like. Like, we get in this place where we think that nobody really cares about us because we're so strung out trying to be the perfect mom, the perfect wife, the perfect whatever. And we get to this place of like, for whatever reason, we just put ourselves last. And then we end up doing that even in our apparel. We do that in the way we look. We put ourselves last. I remember when my kids were little, it was hard to do my hair and makeup with a toddler. It was hard. And I remember there were days where like, man, I look rough, but I'm just too tired to care. And how often do we do that to ourselves? Where we're just too tired to care. And a lot of times I think it comes from a mental place of just not understanding our value and our worth. Now, I'm not saying that you don't care about yourself. And I'm not saying that if you dress better, then you care about yourself. But I am saying that when we look good, we all know that saying, right? When we look good, we feel good. When I look professional, I feel professional. When I look like I just rolled out of bed, I look and feel like I just rolled out of bed, and I don't care. And there are times for that as well. However, I told my husband, I was like, I need to change my wardrobe. I need to find something that looks like I care, but I don't want to be pulling on it all day long, or I don't want it riding up or shifting this way. I want to find something that bridges that gap between comfort and care. Not only do some of our life circumstances contribute to this mentality, but a lot of times we're told that that's the way it should be. A lot of times we've been told a lie, and we believe this lie, that women should neglect themselves. A good mom will sacrifice herself for her kids. A good wife will sacrifice herself for her husband. A good godly woman will sacrifice herself for whatever, fill in the blank. My favorite saying is that, hey, when the airplane is going down, you're supposed to put your oxygen mask on first. If you're not taking care of yourself, how can you take care of anybody else effectively and to the best of your ability? I'm not saying, go ahead, go neglect your kids so that you can have your perfect hair and eyeliner. No, I'm saying take care of yourself. Make yourself a priority. We've been told that it's selfish to do so, but it's not. If you are on an airplane and it is diving into the ocean, what's the first thing they tell you? Put your oxygen mask on first. Then you can help somebody else. If you don't put your oxygen mask on first, you both die. And for whatever reason, as women, we just can't see that. We will just kill ourselves for everybody else and not ever take care of ourselves. And then we end up depressed, dealing with anxiety, feeling less than, feeling neglected. We are neglected. A lot of times it manifests even in our physical health. So where does all this come from? Well, that brings me to my second point. We've been told a lie. We believe a lie that a good, godly woman should neglect themselves. We should sacrifice ourselves for our kids, our husbands, our families, our job, our ministry, whatever it is. Always put yourself last. And it comes from this martyr theology that says that dying to yourself and is this godly thing, because there's scripture that talks about I must die to myself, I must decrease so he can increase, and I must buffet the flesh. And we have all these scriptures that talk about just beating ourselves into this submission physically, and not to, and it gets misinterpreted to this self-abandonment type mentality of like, you should just kill yourself for everybody else. And to think of yourself at all is selfish. To think of yourself at all is unrighteous. It's immoral. It's wrong. It's sinful. It's prideful. It's greedy. It's name one, attach it. You can't, whatever. I'm sure you've heard all kinds of different types of teachings on it, but it comes back to, again, you have to put your oxygen mask on first. If you don't, you both die. You cannot serve others well and to your best ability if you are not taking care of yourself. A lot of times this will show up in our lives with these thoughts of like, well, I don't deserve nice things, and I need to always put everyone else's needs above my own. And we end up neglecting our body, our health, and our appearance. There's this belief that good Christian women should be low maintenance and self-care is selfish and that our needs don't matter. I've recently heard a saying that a high maintenance woman doesn't have a need for a maintenance man. And at first I was like, what does that mean? Then I thought about it and I was like, oh, a high maintenance woman, she's not looking for a maintenance man. What is a maintenance man? Someone who's always tinkering around with broken things. You think about the old adage of like, house cleaners' houses are always dirty, or mechanics' cars are always broken down. And it's that same mentality of like, okay, a maintenance man means that he's always in maintenance and everything is broken. But a high maintenance woman doesn't have a need for a maintenance man. She doesn't want a maintenance man. She doesn't want to be broken. She doesn't want things around her to be broken. She wants things to be working well, including herself. This mentality that I should put myself last it gets an orphan spirit attached to it. And it creates this thought process of like, well, I don't deserve to invest in myself because that's prideful. Everyone else needs to come first. But the sonship and the daughter of the king mentality, that identity says that, no, I need to honor the temple that the Lord has given me. I have the very Spirit of God living inside me. So therefore, I need to honor that temple and I need to invest in myself because I am worthy. And self-care then actually becomes worship. As I mentioned before, there are days that I look like a hot mess, but it's not just about my appearance. Now I want to talk to you real briefly about something I think the church doesn't talk about enough. When we sacrifice ourselves and we put ourselves last above everybody else, we spread ourselves so thin. We set ourselves up for a glorious breakdown. We set ourselves up for burnout. We set ourselves up for depression, for anxiety. Now, I know that depression can be hormonal, it can be circumstantial. You can have a major life event, and sometimes it's just completely chemical. But often, this mentality of I have to put myself last, it contributes to it. And I know that if I look back at my walk, I'm going to get really candid with you here. I'm going to be super transparent, might even make you a little uncomfortable. But in my walk, I have always sacrificed myself for those around me. And in my walk, I have struggled with depression multiple times. Multiple times to one in particular stint, it was dangerous. It was life-threatening. And I don't know why the church doesn't want to talk about it. I don't know why the church has this I feel like the church is getting better about talking about it, but I feel like for most of my life, it's always been something to be ashamed of. You don't talk about that to people. You don't tell anybody that. They'll think you're crazy. You can't be crazy. You can't appear to be crazy. Can't appear to be a little off. You always have to be okay. A good Christian you should be full of joy. If you're not full of joy, well, depression, that's just completely demonic. You need deliverance. And I'm not saying that isn't the case sometimes, but not all the time. Sometimes it's just chemical. Sometimes it's because our hormones are out of whack. But there are other times where we set ourselves up for it. When you give yourself away to everyone else around you and you don't ever take care of yourself, you start to think you don't matter. It may not be conscious. It may not be in the forefront of your head, but it's there somewhere. You think everybody else matters more than you do. And that starts a root for the enemy to work in. And this starts this belief system. Well, it doesn't matter. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's not going to make a difference. And we end up setting ourselves up for this really explosive moment of just falling apart. Taking care of yourself before you get to that point is crucial. And it's not about, I got to put my makeup on. Rebecca said I have to put my makeup on or I'm going to get depressed. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll help. I don't know. But I know that if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't exercise, if you don't take time for yourself, if you don't dress like you care about yourself, if you're always in pajamas and hoodies, that eventually does set a tone in your mind. It just does. I mean, there's been studies that show all the time about how when we take care of ourselves, we feel better about who we are. How many times have you seen these videos, these before and afters, right? Like where the woman walks in and she's in these frumpy clothes and she just looks totally disheveled and sloppy and just, she looks depressed. And then they take her into this closet and they bring out all these clothes and they're dressing her. And you just see her light up of like, oh my gosh, I look like a totally, completely different woman. All they did was change her clothes. We have to be able to see ourselves differently. And your clothing can do that. My next point I want to bring up is that you know what you need. You're the expert on what you need. You may not feel like you are right now, but if you take a minute and just sit and think, you'll figure it out. Because nobody knows your body, your mind, and your spirit better than you do. And let me tell you right now, you don't need permission from others to take care of yourself. Think of it like this. Self-care is not selfish. It's actually responsible stewardship. You've been given one life. You've been given one body. You've been given one mind. It's yours to take care of. It's yours to steward. If you're not stewarding it well, that is not kingdom mind. That's not kingdom mindset. You've been given something to steward. It is actually a godly responsibility to take care of yourself, to dress yourself well, to get up, to take a shower, take a bubble bath if you're stressed out. If you're struggling with depression, go get help, get some medication, go for a walk, eat healthy, whatever that is, whatever that self-care is. If it would make you feel like $1 million to go and get a manicure, then go do it. They're only like $20, $25, I think. I don't know. I've only ever had one manicure my whole life. And I walked out with a staph infection on my thumb and I never went back and got another one. But I know women who get manicures every week or every 2 weeks. I don't know. Like I said, it's not my forte, but I know women who get them done all the time. And it makes them feel like $1 million to have nice nails. You know what you need. What is it that you need to make you feel like you are stewarding yourself well? Which leads me to different ways that maybe you haven't thought of yet. I've mentioned a few already, but let's look at the physical. There's exercise, there's quality food, rest, health care, going to the doctor if you need to, beauty, grooming, getting your hair done, your makeup, getting your nails done. Then there's the emotional part, going to therapy, journaling, having boundaries, learning to say no for things that don't serve you well. Then there's your mental stewardship, learning, reading, creating pursuits, or having hobbies. It's important that we are always growing, even in our mental faculties. Then there's the spiritual, the time with God, carving out time for worship, maybe just sitting and being quiet, getting alone with nature. And then there's relational, making sure that you spend quality time with people who fill you up and not drain you. And I'm not talking about always being a taker. I'm talking about having relationships with people who you equally give to each other, but that you aren't always giving and they're always taking. Now, you may have some resistance to this thought. You may be thinking, well, who do I think I am? There are people who need me and I don't have the time or the money. Let me help you reframe that. When you neglect yourself, you actually operate from depletion. You are actually operating from lack. When you care for yourself, you're actually operating from fullness. Again, it goes right back to that airplane. You have your oxygen mask on, so now you can fully function in order to help someone else get their oxygen mask on. You're not trying to pour from an empty cup. And you need to remember, you can't serve from burnout. So the fourth thing I want to mention to you is that you actually already have permission. You have permission from God Himself. He told you to be a good steward of the resources that He's given you. And He's given you. You are allowed to spend money on yourself without guilt. How many times have we not bought a new bra when our bra was tattered and just almost shredded, falling apart, the wires are poking out, and yet it's like, for some of us, some of you could probably go buy a $10 bra at Walmart and not have a problem, but there's some of us who, our bras get expensive, and it's so hard to go buy a new one. And yet the one we're wearing is poking us in the ribs and we're falling out. It's not holding us up anymore. And yet we don't want to spend money on it because we feel guilty about it. How often have you been in the drugstore or Ulta or wherever, Sephora, and you see a new lipstick and you're like, man, I would really like to have that lipstick, but I feel guilty about it. Buying clothing. Maybe, do you feel guilty about getting your hair done? Going to the hairdresser to get your highlights or to cover the grays? How often do we feel guilty about spending money on ourselves? I know I'm not the only one. I know you do too. But you have permission to do so and not feel guilty about it. And it's not even a matter of having the money or the resources. I can't tell you how many times I've had money in the bank and still felt guilty about buying something for myself. Let me ask you a question. When your kids needed shoes, did you hesitate to buy them? No, they needed shoes. If your kids wanted a candy bar or something, a treat of some sort, you didn't hesitate. You bought them a candy bar. I can tell you, your husband probably doesn't have any guilt buying things for himself. Mine doesn't. And most of my friends, their husbands don't have any guilt buying stuff for themselves. It's a woman thing. It's a female thing. It's because we've been trained and conditioned to put ourselves last. Here's another thought. You are allowed to take time for yourself without having to explain it. How often do we give a big, long explanation of, I want to go, I'm going to go to the painted pottery place today. And I'm going to spend the whole afternoon. I'm tired. I'm worn out. I need a break. I'm going to be doing this. And we go on and on and on and on, trying to explain ourselves why we need to go do this. Or, you know what? I come home from work, I'm going to take a nap. I'm so incredibly tired. I'm going to take a nap. And then we feel like we have to justify why we're taking the nap, or whatever it is that when you feel like you need to take time for yourself, you have this push to justify it and explain it a million different directions in a million different ways so that the other people can understand why you need a minute. You know what? You're allowed to take care of yourself. You're allowed to take some time for yourself. And you don't have to give big, long explanations for it. You don't have to justify it. Here's another thing, and this is one that I've struggled with a lot. You are allowed to rest without having to earn it first. If anyone has ever asked you, well, what have you been doing all day? That probably set you up for this mentality of, I feel guilty to rest because I'm tired and I just needed a break today and I'm not going to do anything today. You know, I went to work, I did, but I'm not going to make dinner. Whatever it is, whatever your rest is, it could be a nap, it could be vegging out on your phone, it could be watching a movie, but you haven't done the dishes or there's still laundry to do. We get this mentality of, I need to earn my right to rest. You're allowed to rest without having to earn it. If you need rest, rest. I'm not saying go shirk your whole life. I'm like, oh, Rebecca told me I could just do whatever I want. Rebecca told me I could just, I could just go rest and just, not feed or take care of the kids today. I'm just going to sit here and watch movies all day because I'm tired. I want to rest. Rebecca told me I could. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that you don't have to have this mentality of, okay, I have finally done enough to where I should be approved by others to sit down for a minute. It's a completely different mentality. You can rest without having to earn it. And you are allowed to prioritize your needs above everybody else's sometimes. Everybody's circumstance is different. If you got small kids, you can't neglect your kids. If you got a job, you can't just not show up for work. But when you have a need, it is okay to prioritize yourself and that need over everything else so that you can do what you need to do to meet that need and take care of yourself. Once that need is met, then you can go back to serving. But here's the thing, if you're trying to serve without meeting certain needs, you're pouring from an empty cup. And girlfriend, you will burn out. I can testify to that because I've done it. I have poured from an empty cup for years, and then I gloriously hit the wall at 90 miles an hour and had a spectacular burnout. Everything in my world shook around me because I couldn't go any farther. And if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to find yourself in that same position, or at least a similar one. So what do you do when the guilt comes? Because it probably will. You've been conditioned to feel it. I want you to think about this. Your thought process is, okay, I'm feeling guilty because I'm believing that this is wrong or this is selfish. I want you to reframe it to good stewardship. The truth is, I am stewarding the temple that God gave me. He gave you. So now take care of you. You don't hesitate to take care of your kids. God gave you your kids. You take care of your kids. You don't hesitate to try to steward your money. God gave you finances. You try to take care of them and not squander them. God gave you a great job. You try to show up and do well for your job and serve your job. God gave you a great husband. You want to serve him well and steward that relationship. He gave you. To neglect it is the problem. So some things you can do today: go get your nails done. Buy the quality skincare. Take a bath. Get a massage. Buy the bra. Okay? Buy the bra. Buy the good quality, expensive bra that is strong enough to hold those girls up. And then say no to the things that drain you. Cancel plans when you're feeling exhausted. Invest in therapy. Go join a gym. I think Planet Fitness is like $15. Buy clothes that make you feel good mentally and emotionally. And if you're lucky, they'll also make you feel good physically. They'll be comfortable. Sleep in, take a nap, read a book, take a day off, make the doctor's appointment, whatever it is you need. There's so many different ways you can take care of yourself. But the question is, what would you do for yourself if you actually believed that you were worthy of taking care of yourself? What would you do for yourself if you actually believed it wholeheartedly that you were worth self-care? This week, I want you to practice just doing one thing. Just do one thing. Pick one thing that is an act of self-care for you, something that you would normally feel guilty about. And when the guilt comes, remind yourself that you're being a good steward. In our next episode, we are continuing on with the Proverbs 31, and we're going to talk about her voice, that she opens her mouth with wisdom and not timidity, not apologetically. We are going to be reclaiming your voice. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like, share this with a friend, share this with a woman who has been killing herself, striving to be that perfect Proverbs 31 woman. Share this episode with a friend who won't buy the bra. And I want to remind you that you're not honoring God by running yourself into the ground. Girlfriend, listen, Linda, you are not honoring anyone by running yourself into the ground. You're actually honoring him. And it is an act of worship to steward what he gave you. That's you. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Buy the bra.